Okay, Craig's here. Super's here.
Ejay's
How's it going,
here.
Super? How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Really good. We are talking on the Saturday after the international clash. There's no game today, so we're bored and sad. So we're having a chat here. Um, and hopefully tomorrow we're going to talk to Team Canada about their great win. And then hopefully we're going to put this up on the internet at some point if I can work out how to do audio editing.
Hopefully, people will listen to it and enjoy it.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. Um, so yeah, like I said, it's the Saturday after the international clash. We were both media reps for Team Europe, right? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, really? Really? I really enjoyed that. That was a great experience for both me personally, as a person, but also as a Terra Mystica player. I learned a lot from Team Europe discussions and games and how those guys were thinking, and deciding on particular moves. I learned a lot, but also it was a great experience, personal experience, because I really grew fond of those guys, Gino
Yeah,
Zivok, Bishigoa, um, Halai, and also
they were
our
great.
alternates who didn't actually play that much, but still they joined us. Um, it was a great fun. Everybody had some laughs. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I agree. It was really good. Like I learned a lot. It was really fun, and I think just like the games were so good. Like at the start, I wasn't sure whether they would be because there's a chance that playing together people play worse
Mhm.
because you like can't decide what to do. But I think in the end the standard was so high. It was really cool how great they were the games.
Oh yeah, that was probably Terra Mystica of the highest level actually ever played. For
Yeah,
for incredible, experienced and skilled minds playing together. Yeah, the communication was certainly a thing that everybody had to figure out how to do it efficiently, how to discuss and make particular moves. But as we saw during the tournament itself, everybody did a pretty good job on that. You know,
yeah,
almost every single team has won a game there. Um, Apart from the fact that all those games, lasted for like 3 hours or something, which was kind of predictable, but yeah, they did a very good job. And I'm really curious how the other teams actually approached this whole tournament and the whole, team play aspect here. What were
yeah. Which
their ideas? How did they practice and this kind of stuff?
yeah, hopefully we can get some of that from Canada, and also I think Chris is going to release the recordings of all the other teams, so it'll be interesting to hear. Um, Even though that's going to be a lot of listening, but yeah, everyone should. I imagine most people listening to this have watched at least some of the games, but everyone should go and watch them because they're great and they were really well put together. Our beloved Team Europe won two of the group games.
Yep, that's right.
Um, USA
Including
won one
our
of them.
yep,
Yeah, yeah.
USA won one of them. Asia won one of them also on Fjords
That was a
with
great game. That
yeah
halflings.
Fire X on halflings. And Team Canada won two of them actually. So yeah, and
Yeah,
they pretty much, we can consider Team Canada. They almost won our home field game during week 3 when they were playing Chaos Magicians, and they managed to score like how many 10, 15 points less than Team Europe, while also having 0 towns.
yeah,
Uh, every other team. I mean, every other team. Team Europe, in particular, was messing with their hexes here and there. So yeah, they were in a pretty tough spot, but if things, broke just a little bit better for them, I believe they had a huge shot at winning that game too. So overall, in my opinion, they fully deserve the international clash crown when, you know.
yeah. Because the final was last week and they crushed it with a really like awesome Nomads game. it was good. And I want to shout out Team Brazil, because I think they had the lowest depth of field, I think, of all of the regions, but they still managed to play some like really good games, and they didn't get the results, and they ended up being the team that wasn't in the final, but they were also playing really well.
That's true. And also, if we take every single game, final scores, and, we check the margin between particular teams, there wasn't such a big difference between them. And Brazil actually managed to, be competitive with all those other teams that, how many of them there were in Team Brazil actually? 2 or 3 players for every single game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they did a really good job, I was actually the most impressed with their gameplay. Having so few players and still manage to be competitive is just I'm speechless, actually.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you what your favorite moment was, and I think it'll probably be the same as mine. But Go ahead.
My favorite moment was when Team Europe was playing. It was Teams Europe game in week 3 on base map with no landscapes, and when Bishiga was piloting our team there, everybody had a good fun. And my one personally favorite moment was when guys decided to dig triple dig Team Canada's Hex D2 gray into black, claiming it for themselves, destroying their town, destroying their game, actually. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like it because, they crushed Team Canada specifically, but, the idea that they could, they found a way to justify such a move,
Yeah.
In this tournament, if I was playing, I would never do it.
Yes.
I would feel, too threatened. I thought it was, too high risk, too much effort put, into destroying one player's game. There are 2 others there. So the fact that they managed to do it and, justify their move was just, and apart from the fact that we had some fun with it, laughing a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite, or maybe the bridge block later in that game. And again, it's not like they were clearly just having so much fun doing that. The fact that it was such a wild move, and I think Gino said something like, "Oh, I can't wait to listen to the casters when they see us play it or whatever." And I think I might have then put that in the Twitch chat maybe, because it was a cool moment. And I hope. Yeah, it was in the right spirit. Like, it was a good move as it turned out, but it was unexpected for sure. And they were really enjoying themselves, and so it was super fun listening to them play that game. And they won the game, which was really good, and everyone was really excited after. So maybe we can ask Canada what some of their favorite moments were, similarly when they eventually beat Europe and got their revenge later in the tournament. I was just going to say, like, while we're talking about it, well done to everyone involved in the thing, which includes us. I guess I'm saying we did a good job as well, but mostly Chris, obviously. Chris, the amazing
Huge
guy, who set the whole thing up. I don't know. I assume it was his idea. I don't know if he got the idea from anyone else, but anyway, it was a brilliant idea for a tournament, and he runs it so well. But everyone who was involved was brilliant. Lizzie, in her different locations every time, reporting from the flight school and the chaos portal,
and the driller, which was my own favorite.
the driller with the halflings, and then all the casters are so. I've struggled to understand how brilliant the casters are. But they are. They all do such a good job. So I will talk to you tomorrow, Super, with Team Canada, hopefully, and we will see how they got on. From Team Canada, the victorious Team Canada, we've got Dany and Zoras. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, hello.
How are you?
Thank you for coming and talking to us. I was saying we were bored and sad after the international clash, and we wanted to congratulate you and we wanted to talk to you a bit about what it was like playing the games and how it felt to win, because it was such a good tournament. I'm keen to talk about it with you.
Yeah, definitely. It was an interesting tournament for sure. It was a lot of ups and downs, but yeah, it was really, really good.
Oh yeah, it was quite an experience.
Mm-hmm.
So who was playing in the final?
I was.
Yeah, it was our captain, our Papa Moose, as we called him.
And did you swap around in the game? Because in the final you had like the 4 core team members, right? You didn't have alternates, but did the alternates play in the games before that?
Yeah, Weber. So Aaron Weber played on the last game, our home game, when we were qualified. Chris Ho actually was the one who suggested. At first, he wasn't sure that he would be able to make it to that game, but even when he knew that he will be able, he said that it will be good to give an alternate a little bit of practice and a chance to join the tournament. I think it had been good leadership from him to suggest it, and that's just really like the kind of guy that Chris Ho is. I think is very, very good leader. It was a good asset for us.
Yeah,
nice,
definitely.
He's the one wearing pants, right?
we're all wearing the pants. We all have a turn with the pants. That's like our alternates. Actually, I think it was only like Weber who could make it out to the games. I think, and
yeah.
but they helped us immensely in like reviewing the games and practicing with us and just talking strategy and about like this whole communication process. And so that even off the field, like their help was really valuable. So yeah.
Yeah, the other alternate was Gordon Dvorak.
Yeah.
And he wasn't available for that game. But yeah, both him and Weber, and also our media rep Ryan the Man, were all very, very supportive and active in giving us feedback, giving us practice. I think it was very, very helpful.
Cool. Yeah. And then what was it like winning that last game? Like you sounded have you listened back to the cast when they dropped in on you at the end and you were singing and it sounded like a lot of fun?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think, especially because like the last game was kind of it was really a different game, I think, than most of the rest because like the auction was super short. It was, and we were kind of surprised, I guess, to have Nomads at that price. Would you agree, like Zoras? Like we felt good right from the beginning in that game because we thought we had a pretty good hand the way the auction went.
I felt it was a fair auction. We had a very, very good first one, much better than we did at first. I think it's really exceeded expectations. And after the first round, I thought that it was a game for us to lose. Really, I think we were in the lead from that point, and we hang on there. But
even then, we were kind of not believing it like until the end, like from round 5, like George was kind of saying already that it's almost in the bag. We're like, no, don't jinx it. Like we'll just we just want to see it through and then we'll celebrate after. But yeah, it ended up being a convincing win, so feels pretty good.
You don't have like the full soundtrack yet from Team Canada, but there was like a lot of time in between where I and Danny's writes George, we started to say, I think we got this, guys, and we were just like not believing it. It was very, very exciting at that point. And when we were sure that we got it, I remember it was like such a strong team moment at that point.
Yeah.
I've got a statistic which I've been working on. I'll upload it to the Discord if you can see it. So have you ever seen those things where like they do in the Olympics, like the most successful country per capita based on population?
Oh,
So I was looking at because Lizzie posted the points that every team got overall in the tournament, and that you guys, even if it was just based on points, you still would have won. And I was thinking, what if you do it per capita? So Asia, right? Asia got a lot of points, but Asia is so big. There's 4 billion people in Asia, so they get like a really low score on points per capita. Europe, quite a lot of people in Europe, quite a lot of people in USA.
yeah.
Brazil do quite well because it's quite a small country. So Brazil do quite well on the points per capita score. But Canada, they just absolutely smash it because you've only got 37 million people.
Yeah, something like that. It's funny because Zoras was talking about that also, like during the tournament, right? You were saying that, you know, we're kind of the underdogs in a way, in a mathematical way, because of the stat you just put there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a point of the tournament where, because at first it was extremely hard. Our first practice game, it was a disaster. And the first practice games, I mean, at first we really like had difficulty playing in this tournament. It's hard to adapt, and we were feeling we were much worse actually as a group than we played individually. And at some point I remember I was trying to find motivation. It's one thing that I brought up, the fact that we were a huge underdog, and just being in the tournament was an accomplishment. Just try to change the frame of mind.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, how did you actually prepare for the international clash? How many practice games did you have? And I mean, how did you approach it? Because we get some understanding how Team Europe, prepared for it by assigning different roles and switching the pilots. But I'm curious how did it go with you guys there? Did you have an initial plan? How did those practice games actually play?
We started at the beginning, and we thought we really need to specialize, have diff roles to play in. And we started trying different things, and we had spreadsheet which we wanted to work. And I think in the end, all of this was just a big mistake. It was really dragging us down. And as it progressed, we learned to do it a little bit different. We kind of adopted more the idea that everyone can chip in, but moderately. You don't want to overflow too much information. And the driving player will sometimes give missions, not instead of having roles, a fixed role. We will give missions. Say, tell me what I can build with our resources for next round. And
how much does I need? How much network do I need to beat this faction or this faction? Or how far can they get? How many buildings can they reach? Do I need to build the 15 structure, or can I just sit at 14 and win? Stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's kind of funny because at the end I think we were pretty good at doing that. And if you listen to the full audio of the game, I end up doing almost nothing in the end. It's okay. The other do the thinking, and they suggest lines. I almost don't calculate anything, which was very comfortable for me. And mainly what I was doing was deciding between the different options that the other way down for me.
Yeah, I think the driving player was kind of in charge of choosing the center line, the main strategy, the main objectives to attain, and then we the other supporting team members, there was a sense of respect, because all of our teammates are really good players, and so we kind of respect the decision that this is the line we're taking, and let's try to enhance that instead of throwing wild ideas that would diverge the path too much from what was picked. And after, in the later rounds, that's when the nitpicking comes, the like the final like resource points, the cult battles, the network. So yeah, that's like when the center line was set, and that's when we could like dig in and like choose our tactics more wisely, like which order to build stuff, who do we give leech, and things like that. Yeah, that was the main thing. It's trust the driver for the beginning and like the general strategy, and then use the other resources, like the other players, to like calculate more itsy bitsy tiny little stuff. That was the main thing, I think.
And did you have like the pilot has the final say on moves, or did you ever like vote on moves, or how did you, if you weren't sure, did you decide?
Actually, that's one thing that we ban at some point, the idea of voting. Because, I mean, it's difficult to trust yourself and to have the team. Sometimes it's easy to want to put things on the vote, but in the end, the pilot, the driver, is the one who has the best overview, the most information. And I remember with Chris, Chris is a very inclusive guy, and I remember once I said, like, you have to trust yourself. You have to be the one making the decision when you're driving. And we all tried to adapt this mentality, and once we started to do that, it was much better. I don't think it can be run as a democracy in the end.
Yeah, and also like there's also a way that when we vote on a move, like a move is only good in relation to what the other team will do, like the other teams will do, and we're not in the other team's heads. So like when we're voting on a move, we might think it's the best move, but then maybe we didn't consider this one thing that maybe this other move would have been. So even if we take a vote, in the end, it's really impossible to know which is the best. So it just makes us lose valuable time, and it just throws confusion, like in the mix. And so we kind of, like Zora said, we kind of like adopted a benevolent dictatorship, so to speak, like where the driver is a benevolent dictator, which is a good system if you trust that he has the team's best interest at heart. So yeah, that's
where you have to have that belief in the pilot at that point, right? That and I mean, if you've got Zoras piloting, you're not going to be too worried about it. But
no, exactly.
We had confidence in every player. I mean, there was discussion at the end if I should be driving or not. I think there was some very good. Everyone played very well. I mean, I'm happy with all the game, but I think anyone could have drive in the last game. Maybe the other thing to add about like banning votes is that it gives you a much more coherent game plan. I remember in the early games that we were playing, it was kind of going in all directions because there wasn't like one person really in charge, and so that was a big improvement, I think.
So was that the main thing you struggled with? Was just having a direction, and that was where letting the pilot sort of be that benevolent dictator was the way to sort of solve that problem?
Yeah, we also had a lot of trouble in communication. We worked a lot on communication. I remember at the beginning, I was when I was advising, I was throwing all kinds of options, and then I realized that
we were all doing that. Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes you need those, because that's how you got like that 5 power priest idea, right? You need those wild ideas. Sometimes they're the best ones.
Yeah, it's true, but you have to be selective at the same time. You don't want to overcrowd the palette of informations.
Yeah, the main thing was like to learn to really think things through before like speak, because even though it's not a physical space, like the audio of the team is kind of a sort of a space in itself, and so when you speak a lot, you kind of occupy a lot of that space, and you add in time in there. So if you don't like take a second to just like make your thoughts more precise and more concise and like more straight to the point, and like for me, that's what I was doing, like to improve. Like instead of like just. I used to I'm used to like thinking out loud, But so that was a challenge for me because I'm used to like, okay, like debating with myself, kind of. But I needed to learn to think things through in my head, or like just write it down a little bit before, and then judging if it's a good enough thing to propose and what are the implications. So that was the learning curve for me personally.
That's quite useful just for life in general, I guess. Like that's quite a good tip for good communication.
Yeah, exactly. It would be really bad, if, for example, if you think like of a whole plan and like, it all depends on like taking the priest action, but you don't realize that the priest action is taken, then you've just wasted everybody's time because your whole hypothesis just crumbled, So it's like that's an overly simplified example, but you get the idea.
Obviously, the time management was the thing. Probably all the teams were struggling a bit. But did you guys have many disagreements during the games, like real games, not practice games? Whether did you end up in any situations where you were divided by in two groups, and two guys wanted to pass early, two guys wanted to build something else, and you had to longer discussion on the topic?
I think I have one really good example, which was in game 3, where like we decided to dig b5 instead of securing c2.
All right.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean that was I'll take the bullet. I was the one who suggested we forgo c2 and we just expand and like score more on the dwelling round, and in hoping that I just we didn't see the temp ship play. I think it was kind of a small permutation, like a small probability that you guys I didn't watch back the game recently, so I don't know how probable it was that you took temp ship and steal that away from us. But so in that moment, I think we were divided.
I'll back up Danny on that one. No one of us saw that C2 could be digged by Darklings, so it wasn't like people were afraid that Darklings dig C2 when we were debating. But no one of us saw it, and considering that.
Yeah, Deep Finesse didn't see it on the cast, or Jekyll. I don't think either of them were expecting it either.
I think they mentioned it though.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. That was just brilliant.
So. What happened was that Danny suggested this line of going for more dwellings, and I was a pilot, and I thought it was the best line when he suggested it, so I decided in favor of it. And I think that it was the best line, as if you don't realize that Darklings are going to dig city. But yeah, we had like sort of, I think all the time we had disagreements. It's quite normal, and that's where having again come back to this idea of someone in charge was a good thing. Also, I know in the tournament, as we progressed and preparing for the last game, I realized that I had a tendency to listen a little less to George, because I think he's more quiet. He's the more quiet of my two other teammates. So I remember that for that last game, I made a point to myself to listen more, to give more weight to his opinion, and not be dragged, by this. To assess more is to kind of compensate from the fact that he will talk a bit less.
And then I'll be biased by his quiet demeanor.
Yeah, I noticed that with Europe. They had Bichigo was quieter, and his English is great, but he sort of was worried about his English quality. But every so often he would chip in with something, and it would just be like a killer line. And a lot of those weird Darklings lines in that game, I think, came from him.
He was playing that game. Yeah.
Was he piloting? I think
he was piloting
yeah.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that was just for the most part sitting behind, giving his opinions whether he agrees or not. And from time to time he would just come out of nowhere and say, hey, how about we dig this hex, right? And everybody's like a moment of silence, and yeah, that's great, let's do it. Yeah, good job, Bishigo. All right. Yeah. He was the creative one right there.
Exactly, and that's a good parallel because in the very same game, George had suggested a line in round 6, which would have give us second place in that game, and
Yeah.
that's the one where I went with my gut at that point. And afterward, I realized like should have listened to Jordan that one. So in the last game, I think I did a better job.
Was it the taking action 6, right? I think it was the taking action 6 in the.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I thought it was a good. I don't know why I didn't. I thought it was good too, but I guess at that time we were like so stressed and a bit under the effects of that. That game was, I think it was the most intense one
Yeah.
for us, and so we were like a bit overwhelmed and trying to recover and trying to figure out the math and all the possible paths. So
that was when you were Darklings on Fjords. Is that the one you're talking about?
When we were
No.
Chaos Magicians on base map.
Okay, right, yeah.
We're gonna refer to Team Europe quite a lot here. Well, obviously we're their media representatives, but I was curious about one thing. Because your first game in week 2, you finished up second, if I'm not mistaken, right? The third one, you ended 4th, and then you were second and first again. So my question is, did you guys, did the results of those particular games influence your attitude towards, upcoming games? So that, for example, when you ended up 4th in the week 3, did you guys, did it influence you in positive way that you had to focus more a bit, or you practiced more, or in more negative way, for example, that you were just upset a bit? Did the results of particular games influence your approach and attitude towards games?
Yeah, after that Chaos Magician game, it was like such a heartbreaker, right? And because we finished 4th, but by 1 point away from Sagan and 3rd, which were tied. And we played, I think, a great game in many ways this game. And I was super frustrated after that game. And after that we had a practice game, and we played Fikir. And on that practice game, at some point, Jekyll was playing against us, and we had 3 yellows that were dig 2 cold spades on the same between round, and that kind of completely destroyed our game again. So, we were feeling like a little targeted at that point.
Oh no!
And if you look like the game after we went, it definitely influenced our play, because the game after we went heavy bidding on Darklings. We wanted like a faction that's harder to intimidate, that's less fragile, and that can have offensive power as well. And the other game, the 4th game, where with Team Canada, we went with Nomads, and contrary to what people expected, we built the stronghold up earlier. And again, I felt that we felt that we needed muscles in this tournament.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you sort of went in fighting a little bit with that one.
Yeah. It seems that in the format, because there's so many players like keeping track of what other teams do, it feels that there was more room for aggression. Or actually, I don't know if it just trauma after that Chaos Magician game. We felt the need to be a bit more on the offensive.
And to add to that, also on the it was kind of a double-edged sword, because the like Zora said, we felt that in the game 3 and like the following practice game, which he mentioned, we were kind of being heavily targeted, but at the same time, it's kind of a bittersweet feeling. The bitter part, Zoras explained it, but the sweet feeling is that if we're targeted, it means that people think like we're actually a threat, and so we kind of especially in that game 3, because I think most, like both Witches and Darklings, Witches with their initial placement, and Darklings with the move of the tournament, perhaps maybe. were kind of heavily targeting us. So we were like, okay, well, we have a strong stand in this tournament, so let's use that energy to turn it to our advantage and keep that in mind instead of thinking about it as a fourth place. And like Zora said, we're 2 points away from like a clean second place also. So I mean that it's heartbreaking, but then again, when you look at it in a more like mathematical way, so to speak, it's really it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's a difference between going away thinking you've played a bad game and lost, or played a good game, or well, if you feel like you did what you could and you just got targeted or you got unlucky in some way, then that's a good feeling going into the next one, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
You can spin it that way, but at the time I think we're pretty down. It's a bit like losing in overtime for.
Yeah, I mean on the night of it, sure, but like after digesting it and like sitting on it for a few days, I think we managed to shift into the more like, okay, people respect us here. That's the takeaway, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you won like Super said, you won the last group game, and so you weren't first seeded, but you'd gone in with that win. So then, were you pretty confident in the final? And you took Nomads again. Was that affected by the fact you just had a really good game with Nomads winning in the previous game?
I think Nomads, like Zora said, I think Nomads are both very safe and can be a pretty aggressive faction, and I think we've seen Nomads win a lot in this tournament. I think they've won 3 games, right?
Yeah, they won the last 3 games. Yeah,
exactly. With all different strategies, which like the first win was from Team USA with like a wild digging game, which is super cool. Then we won with a mid stronghold game, and then we won again with like a no stronghold game at all. So I think that we felt that that having that versatility and having the especially on base map, they're pretty good. So we were really comfortable with Nomads, but I don't think we kind of picked them, tried to play them because we just won with them. But I think we just figured it was the best faction here. Do you agree, Zoras? Do you have something?
Yeah, I think their flexibility is a good point, and then especially when you have like many people around the table, the possibility of exploiting different strategies is even greater because everyone can chip in with their IDs and how the faction is played. So I think that's a little advantage for Nomads, for a flexible faction like Nomads.
But in general, you felt good going into that final. You felt like you had a good chance.
Oh yeah. I mean, not to sound cocky but I think we were confident, especially after that last win. Winning in your home game is pretty, like, it's even better than just winning. I think it's a good feeling. So it definitely, we were having momentum. I think and we kind of felt like we could keep it going, and yep.
Yeah, I thought that we had a shot for sure, but at the same time, there was the feeling that we were going after a very good team. It's a one game that winner take all, so everything can happen. But yeah, I think we were confident that we could do it. We had a very, very good practice game just before with engineers, with an Air 2 engineers game.
Oh, that was sweet.
Nice, wow.
The level of confidence was pretty good at that point for sure.
And we knew that, like, it's also by that time I think we perfected as a, like, given the time, like I think we were playing at our best as a team also. Like there was no more like ambiguity. There was no more like everybody, like we kind of hear like the natural rhythm of how people speak. Like we kind of like it's also that when you speak with the same group of people, you kind of like recognize the patterns, and like you kind of know in advance when they're gonna talk, which was not the case at the beginning, which was another thing that made it really hard. Like people constantly interrupting each other, or as we started, we learned to recognize that, and I think we were just having fun at the end. That's also one of the big takeaways that Zoras actually, put forward. Not pressuring ourselves too much with the spreadsheets or the math or the roles or who's shadowing who and stuff.
I was also the one pushing the spreadsheet at the beginning.
But it's interesting because the tournament was like, there was some discussion of whether those first 5 games mattered or not. But it sounds like even if they didn't really matter for the score or for the final standings, they did matter in terms of playing the games, learning from how you played it, improving, and then taking that into the final a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's practice, and I think it's in kind of a nice way. I think since it's like the first tournament of this format, I think it's a good thing that the first 4 games don't really matter in quotation marks, because everybody's new at this. Like no one has experience doing. I don't think anyone has ever played 4-player perfection TM. So I think it was a good thing for the first edition to be constructed this way. Maybe the other editions will be different. Who knows? But you got a good point there, EJ. That's yeah.
So in general, I presume you think it was a good tournament and you had a good fun. Like, was it as you expected, and did you enjoy playing in it basically?
Yeah. I think we didn't know what to expect. Before, as Danny said, I mean, usually you played like several. When 2-person play for same faction, it's because you're playing with friends and you have one too many to play the game that you want to play. But so we had like no experience in that, didn't know what to expect, but it ended up being really, really a blast. And I know Bezo mentioned this, that he wanted to encourage people to work in smaller group, and that really had this effect on us. I mean, having like this kind of reference group with whom to discuss strategy and play regularly, to meet was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I honestly, it exceeded my expectations. Like, not that I thought that it wouldn't be fun. I thought it would be fun. Obviously, it's Terra Mystica, and we're all playing with like the top of the top. But like just the get to know each other better, the community, the team building, especially in a time where like you can't really play board games in live as much as you could before. And so that finding again that camaraderie, that sense of like group, it is what it is. It was pretty nice. Yeah.
Rather than sitting there on your own playing Terra Mystica, playing it with chatting with people and playing it.
Yeah, you sprinkle a bit of a bit of healthy nationalism in there. It's really pleasant. It was really fun.
So you'll enter again next year if there's another one. Are you guys going to try and team up again, depending on how the teams are picked?
I wonder how. I wonder how that's going to go, because maybe if I'm not on team, is there a new position where it's going to be like kind of a consultant, like to give like feedback or give advice? I don't know how's the. But I would.
You could be a coach. You could go and coach Team Europe after they lost or something. I don't know.
I guess I want other people to enjoy this experience, but I want to enjoy it. I want to do it again, so I'm kind of torn between that. But,
sure. Yeah. I think the main thing is that I really hope that the team audio gets opened up to more people, and I'd encourage everybody to try and do the media rep roles, because just listening to me and Super have talked about it, but you learn so much just from listening to you guys play and how you think about things. It was really interesting.
I'm so curious to see how the other teams communicate when the audios are released.
Yeah, and the pedagogy value of it, I think, will be very high, because you're forced to voice a lot of things that
Mhm.
normally you will not. So I think it will be very interesting to hear these audios.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that, definitely.
I've got a question that is the most important for me personally. So in the first game, we saw a profile pic of Christopher Ho, disguised as Kraken, right? So my question is, why didn't we see more profile pics like that? For example, Zoras the Lobster or DanyB the Shrimp or anything like that. Why did you guys end up with just one of them? And by the way, whose idea was this actually?
I think it was a joint effort. I think because I think Zoras came up with because it was on the fjords map. So the Kraken, it was themed with like the fjords map. That's why the Kraken was frozen, and that's Zoras who came up with it. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I made that up, but it was like it was the time where we were a little stressed because we didn't do well in practice, and that was our first game of the tournament. And I don't know, I just like made that joke
Just to hype,
to well make people a bit more loose to like.
And then I went and Googled like Kraken hats, and I asked if we could Photoshop his on his head, and actually Bizzle did that. Yeah, immediately.
Bizzle jumped in and he made the Photoshop, and he actually put it as the profile pic, and then we asked Chris if he was okay with it, and he thought it was fun, and that was like the whole idea of losing up a little bit, like taking ourselves a little less seriously, and
it's got to be fun, right? You got to have fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just that after that, I don't know, the kind. I know that Bizzle said that it took him quite a lot of time to do the Photoshop, much more time than it should be. We didn't continue with the idea, so that's the story.
We also wanted to stay true to our moose theme, I guess. So we didn't want to diverge too much from our allegiance to the moose
into nautical animals.
Exactly. It was just a one-time thing as a first thing, and we didn't think of other clever puns. I think when we first played the game, the first game after that, we kind of turned on the more serious mode. Maybe like we not that we didn't have fun, but we were thinking more about the game and other things. But yeah, it was kind of fun as an entry, just to make a statement in a certain way. Yeah.
And then how did you celebrate at the end? Any particular celebrations? We saw Zoras with a picture of like a huge steak, like the size of a man's head, that looked great.
Yeah, it looked. I celebrated with some food as well. I ordered. We have something in Quebec called a poutine, which is
like chips with fries with sauce on, right?
Chips with cheese and like kind of a gravy. But I ordered mine with chicken, and it was really good. And I don't have that often because it's not the healthiest thing to eat. But from time to time, it's damn good. So I had that as a celebration as well. It's more Quebecois than Canadian, but it's still Canadian. So I thought that was a good way to cement the win.
Yeah. In the afternoon after that, after the tournament, I remember being at the same time like completely exhausted. If I had run a marathon or something, I was like completely exhausted, but at the same time, like on a cloud, really, like super happy.
Because there's that statistic about Kasparov like burning whatever, like thousands of calories when he plays in tournaments, right? Is it tiring when you've played like a proper game like that for a long time?
I think we all felt a bit of we needed time, to I couldn't do some like mental activities like right after. I think and also you want to lean back and just drink it in, just enjoy the moment, the vibe, the feeling. and not worry about like thinking in these scenarios. But it was a bit brain consuming until like
I think the team aspect also, but I mean, in this games, we will consider much more lines than I will consider if I will play by myself. So like, there's much more information condensed in about the same amount of time. So I felt these games were more draining than the others.
Yeah, you have to also like not only you give out information, but you have to also adjust to what the people are telling you, and so like there's a you have to maintain like 3 or 4 conversations at the same time in your head and just try to figure out, okay. Well, I thought I said something like 2 minutes ago, but then like George, for example, or Chris or whatever, just said something that counters that. So I gotta remove that thought from my head and like keep going forward. And it's yeah.
Is it the same when you're casting? Is it tiring when you're doing the cast in the same way because you're trying to think about 4 games at once?
From my experience, it's kind of similar, but there's less on the table. There's less pressure. There's less. Like if I'm wrong on cast, and worst case scenario, it's best case scenario, it's really funny, and worst case scenario, it's just neutral, and it's fine. But like in the tournament, it's if you're wrong and you're wrong big time, then it's not. You got to measure your thoughts and your words a bit more carefully, I think.
Yeah, there's much more pressure, and stress will take a lot of energy too.
Yeah, definitely. And there's more room to joke around, in the cast, especially if you have like a good chemistry with your co-caster.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes, it's you kind of forget about the game for a few moments, especially with Lizzie chiming in, and I mean speaking for the IC cast. I mean it's kind of a you're not constantly thinking about the game like 100%, whereas when you're playing, you can't really afford to let your mind go astray for too long, because there's stuff happening and you always need to watch out, like, oh, what did the other team do? Did they take a priest now? No. Did they give the leech to that player? Okay, now they can take double leg before us, and all these. You guys play TM, you know what I'm talking about.
And looking to the near future, are you guys playing in the Fire 2 Open this season? Have you got automatic? Have you guys got automatic qualifications, or are you doing qualification? Are you playing?
I'm not, because it's on Fire and Ice map, and I don't like the Fire and Ice map.
Fair enough.
So I actually haven't played before. It didn't really work out, but maybe in the future, if it's not on the Fire and Ice map, maybe I'll try chiming in on that in that tournament. How about you, Zoras? Are you playing this season?
I'll try to qualify. So I didn't have a good Fire 2-0 last time, so I have to go through qualification. I'll try my luck this time.
Nice.
Chris Ho isn't here, but I am on this season. I am on Team Chris Ho fan club because he's got so unlucky in the last few years, seasons.
Yeah, he's always targeted in the, like, first with the Alchemists. I think he was playing Cultists, and was it Jesse? I think the player that. Yeah.
Jesse
it was
G.
Jesse G. Yeah, exactly.
And then it was Claybo last season.
Yeah, I preferred Claybo's move though than Jesse G. I think it was. I mean, Claybo's move was, I think, better, like just from a general standpoint. So I'm less mad about this one, I guess.
Yeah.
But
It was a bit of a wild move, but yeah, there was value to it, right? But it still was super unlucky for Chris.
Yeah. Chris is like also the best guy you can have. Really, I mean, he's such like a good person. I'm totally with you on that one. He is also super competitive though, so I'm sure that he wasn't happy with these moves. But I remember this Cultist game. He was so focused for the rest of the game and trying to make the most out of this situation. Even so,
he salvaged it. He did salvage it a little bit. I mean, given the position, he did some good stuff to recover. But sadly, it wasn't enough. But what can you do? Sometimes these things happen and it's out of your control. And that's the thing with TM. Sometimes it's like there's nothing stopping any player from like just screwing with you, and if that happens, then it's one of the downsides of the game, maybe. But everything, nothing's perfect, so you just gotta live with it. And
yeah, and it's how you sort of manage that, and don't go too tilty. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
As a guy called DanyB comes up and triple hard dicks your hex right in the center in the first round.
What are you referring to?
Weren't you the guy that triple hard dig the hex in the first round as Chaos Magicians?
The blue, the center blue.
Yeah.
That's that's a reactive move. That's not a proactive move. It's not the same thing.
That's fair.
That's a reactive move. I'd rather dig the gray. If possible. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. Anything else you want to ask, Super? Anything else?
Not really. Thanks, guys, for coming in. It was interesting talking to you and getting different opinion on the tournament. I'm also curious how the recordings of communication of particular teams go.
Same. I'm really looking forward to that. Thanks for having us. It was pretty fun talking about it in this kind of informal, friendly way. It was nice. Yep.
Thanks a lot, guys, for that.
If any of you wins next Fire to Open, you might come again. So you should consider it.
I'll get over my hatred of Fire and Ice just to get a shot at this interview again.
That's the spirit.
All right. See you later, guys. Nice talking to you.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Hey, Super.
Hey, Jerry. Again.
How did you enjoy talking to Team Canada? It was really interesting, I thought.
Oh yeah, it was definitely. The thing that already comes to my mind is that those guys. I mean, I was pretty sure about it, but those guys just reminded me of the fact that this whole idea of international clash and team communication is mostly about having fun, and listening to those guys, DanyB and Zoras, actually proving that they had fun is, I think, the most important thing in this whole endeavor, and I'm really happy for them here, actually.
Yeah, they're all such nice guys. I think I knew that anyway, but listening to them talk about it was really good, and it sounds like they had a good time. So yeah, hopefully that was interesting for people to hear their thoughts.
Hopefully. What do you think about asking other teams to join us here, share their thoughts on the tournament?
Yeah, if any other teams do want to, it would be great to hear from them. I've got some ideas of some other stuff to talk to people about, but it would be really good to hear from the other Clash teams. Maybe we could get Europe in, but any of the others, if they wanted to come and talk about their experience in the tournament, it would be really cool. Yeah. So what else is going on? We're talking the week after the Clash, and so I'm going to say to people that they should be looking to, if you've got an elo of above 350, you should be looking at the next series, the next season of the Fire 2 Open on Fire and Ice, because you could play against, well, you're not going to play against Danny by the sounds of it, but you could play against Zoras, and you could play against some of the other great players. Are you entering, Super?
The same. I will try. I will be available for 2 days for the qualifiers. Although the last time it didn't go well. I played 2 games and I finished 4th in both of them. So I was pretty sure that, all right, well, I'm not gonna play in this season, that season, but maybe this time, I will be a bit more lucky.
Do you like Fire and Ice as a map?
Not in particular. I'm pretty indifferent to it, actually. I prefer other maps, but I've had some good games in Fire and Ice, so as long as it's not whole arena season, it's just a couple of games, 1 or 2 probably during my qualifiers, and that's it. I'm alright with it.
Yeah, nice. Well, yeah, I'm gonna have a go. I think it'll be the same 2 qualifier matches. So I don't know. You never know. We might get drawn together. I'll
With Zoras, maybe, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's going to be some big names in there. I don't expect to qualify, but I'll have a look. I quite like Fire and Ice as a map. I think it's maybe my favorite map actually. So
Oh, really? All right. I think Bizzle just mentioned in the Discord channel that there are like 76 people who registered for the qualifiers, something like that.
So a reasonable chance. So yeah, anyone, you can go to there's a thread on Board Game Geek, which maybe I'll work out how to link to that if we release this. I don't know. And you can go there and register. And I think you can register up until like the final day of qualifiers, so there's no real rush.
Yep.
So do give that a look. Okay, so I am going to now try and work out how to edit all this stuff that we've just recorded. I'm looking at Audacity and feeling quite scared, so I'm going to go and do that now.
Good luck with that. I'm not gonna be much of a help here. It's all right.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll speak to you soon. Super.
Same to you. Good chatting with you. Have a good one.